again. This is Dr. Rukma Vasudev. Let's talk about pause punctuation marks today. Pauses ask you to stop briefly before continuing to talk or read. ಮಾತನಾಡುವಾಗ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಚಿಕ್ಕದಾಗಿ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಬೇಕಾದರೆ ವಿರಾಮ ತಗೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಈಗ ನೋಡಿ, ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುವಾಗ ಆಗ ಈಗ ವಿರಾಮ ತಗೊಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದು ನಾನು ಲೇಖನದಲ್ಲಿ ಸೂಚಿಸಬೇಕಾದರೆ pause punctuation marks ಅನ್ನು ಬಳಸ್ತೀನಿ. The three types of pause punctuation marks include comma, semicolon, colon. Now let's look at comma. Comma indicates a natural pause in a sentence. Comma ಒಂದು ಸಹಜ ವಿರಾಮವನ್ನು ತೋರಿಸುತ್ತೆ. It is called ಅಲ್ಪ ವಿರಾಮ in ಕನ್ನಡ. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಲ್ಪ ವಿರಾಮ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. What are the uses of comma? Comma ಯಾವಾಗ ನಾವು ಬಳಸ್ತೀವಿ? There are basically 6 uses. To separate items in a list. To separate non-essential items or adverbs in a sentence. To separate forms of address in a sentence. ವಾಕ್ಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸಂಬೋಧಿಸುವ ಅಂಶವನ್ನು ಪ್ರತ್ಯೇಕಗೊಳಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. To separate adverbs in two closely related sentences. ಕ್ರಿಯಾ ವಿಶೇಷಣ ಪದ ಎರಡು ಹತ್ತಿರ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇದ್ದ ವಾಕ್ಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರತ್ಯೇಕಗೊಳಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಕಾಮವನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. To separate certain conjunctions or ಸಂಯೋಗಗಳನ್ನು in a sentence, we again use comma. To separate subordinate clauses in a sentence. Now let's look at some examples of comma wherein you use comma to separate items in a list. The box contains marbles of colors red, yellow and green. ಈ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮೂರು ವರ್ಣದ ಗೋಲಿಗಳು ಇದ್ದಾವೆ. ಸೊ ಕಾಮಾ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕ್ತೀರಾ? ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಡ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಮಾ, ಯೆಲ್ಲೋ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಮಾ, and this is known as Oxford comma or serial comma. ಕೆಲವು ಕಡೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಯೆಲ್ಲೋ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಮಾ ಹಾಕಲ್ಲ. ಅದೇನು ತಪ್ಪಲ್ಲ, ಆದರೆ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಏನಾದರೂ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ, ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟವಾಗಿ ಏನಾದರೂ ನಾವು ಕನ್ವೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಯೆಲ್ಲೋ ಆದಮೇಲೆನೂ ಕಾಮಾ ಹಾಕಿದರೆ ಉತ್ತಮ. ಈಗ ನೋಡಿ, ರಮೇಶ್ ವೆಂಟ್ ಔಟ್ ವಿತ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಬ್ರದರ್ಸ್ ರಾಹುಲ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಿನಯ್. ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಮಾ ಬ್ರದರ್ಸ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಕ್ತೀವಿ. ರಾಹುಲ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಹಾಕದೇ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಆ ಸಹೋದರರ ಹೆಸರೇ ರಾಹುಲ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಿನಯ್ ಅಂತ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದು ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್ ತೆಗಿಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಬ್ರದರ್ಸ್ ಬೇರೆನೆ, ರಾಹುಲ್ ಎಂಬವನು ಮೇ ಬಿ ಗೆಳೆಯ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ವಿನಯ್ ಎಂಬನು ಒಬ್ಬ ಗೆಳೆಯ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಆ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಎಲಿಮಿನೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್ ತೆಗೆದುಹಾಕಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬ್ರದರ್ಸ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ಕಾಮಾ, ರಾಹುಲ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಾಮಾ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೀತಾ ಸಿಂಗ್ಸ್, dances and plays the musical instrument ವೀಣಾ. ಸೀತಳು ಹಾಡ್ತಾಳೆ, ನರ್ತಿಸ್ತಾಳೆ ಹಾಗೂ ವೀಣೆಯನ್ನು ನುಡಿಸ್ತಾಳೆ. So you will put a comma after sings, you will put a comma after dances. Rohan enjoys cooking, reading and running. ರೋಹನ್ ಅಡುಗೆ ಮಾಡಲು, ಓದಲು ಹಾಗೂ ಓಡಲು ಇಷ್ಟಪಡುತ್ತಾನೆ. So to avoid any confusion, you will put a comma after cooking, you will put a comma after reading. George visited his school, the local park and the city market. So you will put a comma after school, the local park. Now let's move on to the examples of comma wherein you use comma to separate adverbs in a sentence. Luckily, it did not rain today. ಭಾಗ್ಯವಾಶದಿಂದ ಇವತ್ತು ಮಳೆ ಬರಲಿಲ್ಲ. So you put a comma after luckily, which is an adverb. Unfortunately, he lost his job recently. ದುರದೃಷ್ಟತೆಯಿಂದ ಅವನು ತನ್ನ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಕಳೆದುಕೊಂಡನು. You put a comma after unfortunately, which is an adverb. Frankly, I enjoy cooking. So you put a comma after frankly, which is an adverb. Honestly, Asma studies better under pressure. Honestly, H is silent. Okay, it's not honestly, it is honestly. And it's not H, it is H. Honestly, Asma studies better under pressure. So you put a comma after honestly, which is an adverb. Now, next set of examples of comma, wherein you use comma to separate forms of address. Ma'am, can I talk to you for a moment? Ma'am admele you'll put a comma. What's the spelling of ma'am? M-A apostrophe A-M. Now generally M-A-M anta barbiಡ್ತೀವಿ, but it is correct to write it as M-A apostrophe A-M. You put a comma after ma'am. Ma'am ಅಥವಾ madam ಏನಾದರೂ ಈಗ ಮಾತಾಡಬಹುದಾ? Sir, is this the right time to talk to you? Sir, it's a form of address. Put a comma after sir. ಈಗ ಮಾತಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಸಮಯವೇ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಬಹುದು. Raina, how are you doing? Raina, put a comma. Lola, stop barking. ಬೊಗಳೋದು ಬಿಡು. Let's move on to the next set of examples of comma, wherein you use a comma to separate adverbs in the second closely related sentence. The park was closed, however, I plan to visit it tomorrow. The park was closed is one sentence, and you are starting another sentence with an adverb which is however. You will put a comma after however. However, I plan to visit it tomorrow. ಇವತ್ತು ಉದ್ಯಾನ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ನಾಳೆ ನಾನು ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ. You look weak, indeed you must eat more. ನೀನು ವೀಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತೀಯಾ, ನಿಜಕ್ಕೂ ನೀನು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ತಿನ್ನಬೇಕು. So you put a comma after indeed, which is an adverb. Raju woke up late due to ill health. Nevertheless, he did not miss his classes. Nevertheless is an adverb. You will put a comma after nevertheless. Many people have vitamin D deficiency. Therefore, it is essential to have some exposure to sunlight every day. You will put a comma after therefore, which is an adverb. Now, let's move on to the next set of examples of comma, wherein you use comma to separate certain conjunctions. You can check with the department store, but I don't think they will have this brand of soap. It's raining heavily, so I wore a rain jacket. ತುಂಬಾ ಮಳೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು rain coat ಅಥವಾ rain jacket ಅನ್ನು ಹಾಕಿಕೊಂಡೆ. You will put a comma in the first case after department store, in the second case after heavily. Now, examples of comma wherein you will use a comma after a subordinate clause. If I were in your place, I would have taken up the matter more seriously. So, which is the subordinate clause here? If I were in your place. ಉಪವಾಕ್ಯವನ್ನು ನಾವು subordinate clause ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. When you visit the market, please bring me some groceries. When you visit the market, upavakya, it's a subordinate clause. So you will put a comma here. Please bring me some groceries. Let's move to semicolon. The semicolon is used to connect two closely related sentences. Semicolon ಎರಡು ನೇರ ಸಂಬಂಧವಿರುವ ವಾಕ್ಯವನ್ನು ಜೋಡಿಸುತ್ತೆ. Semicolon is known as ಅರ್ಧ ವಿರಾಮ ಚಿಹ್ನೆ in ಕನ್ನಡ. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಅರ್ಧ ವಿರಾಮ ಚಿಹ್ನೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. The semicolon is also used in sentences with internal commas. The semicolon is also used between two independent clauses linked by a conjunctive adverb. Now let's look at examples of semicolon, wherein you use a semicolon to connect two closely related sentences. I saw a cat, semicolon, it was eating a rat. So these are two closely related sentences. So the first sentence ends in a semicolon and the second one ends in a full stop or a period. ನಾನು ಒಂದು ಬೆಕ್ಕನ್ನು ಕಂಡೆ, semicolon, ಅದು ಒಂದು ಇಲಿಯನ್ನು ತಿನ್ನುತ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. Kalyan has gone to the library, semicolon. Rohan has gone to the park. Kalyan ಗ್ರಂಥಾಲಯಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ರೋಹನ್ ಉದ್ಯಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ. The semicolon is after library, which is at the end of the first sentence. The global economy is not good. The job opportunities are less. Next sentence. I saw a butterfly, semicolon. I love the different types of butterflies. And that you will end with a full stop or period. Now let's move on to the next set of examples of semicolon, wherein you use a semicolon to connect sentences with internal comma. The bag contains packets of balls of varied colors. Put a colon, red, comma, yellow, comma, green, semicolon, blue, comma, pink, comma, purple, semicolon, and brown, black, white. We put a comma after brown, comma after black, and period or full stop after white. ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಗಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಥರದ ವರ್ಣದ ಬಾಲ್ಗಳಿದೆ. ಯಾವ ಥರ ವರ್ಣಗಳು ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ. ಸೊ ಈ ಐಟಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಡ್, ಯೆಲ್ಲೋ, ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಶಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಪ್ರತ್ಯೇಕಗೊಳಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಕಾಮಾವನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ರೆಡ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಮಾ, ಯೆಲ್ಲೋ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಮಾ. ಆದರೆ ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಸೆಮಿಕೋಲನ್. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಆ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಮುಗಿಯುತ್ತೆ, ಹೊಸ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಶುರುವಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಬ್ಲೂ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಮಾ, ಪಿಂಕ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಮಾ, ಪರ್ಪಲ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಸೆಮಿಕೋಲನ್. ಕೊನೆಯದಾಗಿ ಬ್ರೌನ್ ಕಾಮಾ, ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಕಾಮಾ, ವೈಟ್, ಫುಲ್ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್. The new mall has 3 levels. The first level is meant for groceries and vegetables, semicolon. The second level for clothing and accessories, semicolon. And the third level for restaurants and theatres. So you know where to put the semicolon. First level is meant for groceries and vegetables, semicolon. The second level for clothing and accessories, semicolon. And the third level for restaurants and theatres, you will end in a full stop. The weather statistics are needed for these capital cities. Colon, then you will start New Delhi, comma, India, semicolon. Paris, comma, France, semicolon. Oslo, comma, Norway, semicolon. Brussels, comma, Belgium, semicolon. Washington, D.C., United States of America, semicolon. London, comma, United Kingdom, full stop. If you look at the slides carefully, you will be able to understand the concept better. Let's look at next set of examples of semicolon, wherein you will use a semicolon between two independent clauses linked by a conjunctive adverb. Kabir does not enjoy swimming much, semicolon. Moreover, comma, he does not prefer visiting public swimming pools. So you will put a semicolon after the first sentence, which ends with much. Kabir does not enjoy swimming much, semicolon. Students were warned not to set out alone after 7 p.m. However, they were encouraged to do so during natural light. So you put a semicolon after 7 p.m, which is the end of the first sentence. I need to set out to get some fresh air. Also, I need to fetch milk. So you will put a semicolon after air, that is after the first sentence. Heavy rains continue to affect the cities in the south. Consequently, all buses and flights are cancelled. You will put a semicolon after south. Okay.